today? Today is Friday, the September the 26th, 2025. I am John Lee here with Laura from St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association, members, guest, and this is our network that we meet on Fridays. And let's see, I don't have a lot of announcements. Let's see, just coming up next month, it'll be interesting. At the main event, there's a guy that's supposed to come in and do a thing on mud jacking. I don't know if anybody's ever had any issues for that kind of stuff, so that'll be very interesting and probably some good details. Also, I'll just briefly mention that Vena Jones Cox OREA that she puts on every year. It's the largest real estate investors meeting in the country and the longest running too in Ohio. I don't know if anybody's, we're not going this year. Laura and I, we went last year. Very, very good stuff. Some world-class training there too. And I mean, you'll meet some of the best people in the country. So I don't know if anybody signed up for that, but that's something worth mentioning. You might remember Kathy Kinderbrook, who's talked with us a few times. She just did a thing on land not too long ago. She's going to do a really good in-depth training for us on marketing coming up here too, and I'll have more details on that as it comes out. The only other thing I'll mention is I did talk with Eric Wheeler. I don't know, some of you may remember him from a couple years ago. He helped us with the electronic business cards, and I don't know if anybody was there. I think a couple of you guys might have been. I can't see everybody. But if you want to go to linktojohn.com, it's LINK number 2 JOHN. That's kind of what mine is. I don't keep up on it like I should, but it's real easy. He helped me create that. And once you get it set up, there's really no cost involved to keep it going. It was about, I think about $500 or $600 to originally set it up, but it was well worth it because that's the easiest thing I gave to people. And he's got a unique way of telling you how to get things like that. And I know Link to Eric is gone because I know we had one of the guys in our group named Eric that tried to get it, but it was spelled a little different. But that's something you may look at if you're interested in getting an electronic business card. It's easy to tell people about. So I think that's about all I have on announcements, which is not too much today. Let's see. I guess we could get started. Laura, would you like to go ahead and give us our disclaimer, please?
Sure. Good morning and welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to do a bit of housekeeping. Feel free to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. Please be mindful of everyone else by muting yourself while others are speaking. You're welcome to put any contact information that you want to share into the chat. We meet here to share deals, look for deals and solutions we have in need with our real estate. We are not your financial advisors, attorney, or accountants. We do not endorse or recommend any specific solution or contractors here. You're advised to do your own due diligence to your own satisfaction before you invest. The first Friday of each month is Ask the Attorney with Ms. Catherine Davis. Our meetings are typically recorded, so only share what you want others to know.
Thank you, Laura. And yes, yeah, this is the end of the month. So next week, Kathy should be here. Catherine Davis, our attorney. So I haven't heard from her yet, but anyway, we'll count on that and look forward to seeing her. So if you have any legal questions or you want to hear about anything going on, it's always good. Now, of course, we do have the replays, that we put on YouTube so you can watch them, but it's always good to attend live so you can ask questions directly. Let's see. And good morning to you too, Renee. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you here. Hope all's going well. Anybody have anything you'd like to start us off with today? Anybody got anything they're buying, selling, working on? See a few people have their smiling faces on the camera, and the rest of you, I can tell you're smiling behind the scenes. So always good to turn your camera on when you talk, though. I will say that. I see Stacy's up there. So Stacy, you want to say hi? You haven't really talked to you too much in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. I actually have news. Dave's not here today. He's working some. We were at a realtor business conference this week. But will actually be my last Friday with you guys. Oh. I am switching brokerages. Instead of doing property management, I'm gonna be switching to just strictly residential sales. So I still might join on some Fridays, but I won't be representing Soto, who is a sponsor. So I'll definitely talk about Soto. You know, we're a great company and we provide property management services in St. Louis and Southeast Missouri. We have an office in St. Louis, and then we also have an office in Cape Girardeau. So anywhere from like Wentzville, you know, close to the river, all the way down to close to the Boot Hill, we will do property management. So if you have any investment properties in those areas, please reach out. But I'm going to give you Dave's email and the office phone number. I'm not sure who's going to be onboarding new clients yet, but my last day is the 30th, so Tuesday. So like I said, I might still join on some Fridays just to be, you know, a real estate agent, but I won't be with Soto any longer. And it's Dave's been wonderful mentor, great coach for me, but it was just time for me to kind of pivot and just focus on residential sales. So
Well, congratulations on your new move. I know it's going to be good for you, Stacy. And yeah, we'd love to have you come on and just share with you what you got for, you know, for sale or any kind of anything you would like to share, because I know you've been a big asset for us on Friday.
absolutely, yep. I'm going to Keller Williams. It's just going to be me and one other girl. She does very, very well for herself, and she's just needing some help. So we're going to team up, and her and I just kind of split and tackle everything together. So it's a good opportunity.
Sounds great. And you just got your broker's license recently too, if I remember right. So
Yep.
yeah, big moves ahead. Congratulations on all that.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
I appreciate it. But yeah, give Dave a call if any of you are interested in property management services. We Soto would do everything for you from start to finish. We got a couple other people that just got licensed in our office, so I think one of them are gonna transition into my position. So we'll still have someone there to talk to you and set up services and stuff. So if you want to contact Dave, though, his email is, I should know this, David dot Soto, SOTO, at sotops.com. And then the office line is 636-305-3380. I will put that in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Stacy, this is Renee. I just wanted to say thank you for, I mean, I've been on this on these calls for, I guess, almost 2 years now. And your wealth of knowledge will absolutely be missed. I've learned a lot from you, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And good luck with your new role. I hope you make buckets of money.
Yeah, that's the goal. So we'll see. But I very much appreciate your kind words. Like I said, I still might hop on every once in a while. You know, I still have a lot of property management knowledge. I've been doing it for 10 years. So I'm still you know, I'm still here to help and answer any questions. And I'll put my contact in there too. I'll put my new email. And I'll do my cell phone as well. My personal lines 573-795-8029. And then my new work email is going to be SLOUGH@kw.com.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. And thank you, Renee. That was a very good compliment. And I know we all have the same kind of sentiments towards that. And we do hope you come in and share with us what you got going on. Because, you know, as you know, we can always keep this, the recordings. We do share some of them. I've taken some of them out and made little short kind of highlight reels. And we'd be happy to do that with you for your properties too. So thank you. All right. And yeah, if you could put your contact info that you'd like to share in the chat too, that's always helpful for people to write it down like me that can't always get everything as you're saying it.
Yep, I'm typing in Dave's info and then my new info as well. So
perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Some exciting news and also a little, I don't want to say sad, but just some you know, some good sentiments there. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet. So I said Dave's been wonderful to me, and so I learned a lot, and it's bittersweet, but
yeah. Well, you
change is good, so we'll see.
Doors open and doors close, and we just gotta, you know, not live in the past and not live in the future. It's just the way things work. So thank you for sharing that with us. All right. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share with us here? Anybody got any properties for sale? I know a lot of people are sitting by the sidelines. I'm in a lot of other groups too, and people are kind of just sitting to see what happens. Some people bought when the market was up a little bit, the rates are up, and now that some of the some of the values got adjusted, they're kind of sitting there not wanting to sell. Some people have to sell anyway, though. There's a lot of things going on right now. In fact, I'm working with somebody that used to be in St. Louis. She's coming up here in November. And we're going to be doing a thing on subject to properties because there's a lot of people still that the values aren't quite there. They don't have enough money or enough value to enough equity for commissions and other things like that, but they need to sell and they need to move. So there's some really unique ways, some things we've done. I haven't seen some of this stuff in maybe 10, 15 years, something like that, right in that 12 years anyway, on how, taking over payments and some of that stuff. And it kind of looks like some of that stuff might be coming back. So we're going to get into some pretty deep level trainings on some of that stuff too, because there's ways to take over payments. There's still ways to make a lot of things cash flow, even if you can't sell it traditionally or you can't buy them traditionally. So there's still ways to do that. And we'll be doing some of that. And I'll mention that a little bit more when, as that gets a little closer, if for anybody that might be interested. So anybody got anything they'd like to share here? I know we got a lot of people that like to come in and just Q&A, listen and learn things like that, which is always good. We're glad to have you here. And if anybody, if it's their first time, welcome. If you're, I know a lot of you, I can't see everybody, but I can see a lot that of returning attendees too, and we welcome you back too.
Hello, I'm with the St. Patrick Center, Terri Brown.
Hi, Terri.
Hi. I wanted to bring up, we have fundraisers throughout the year. So we're having a veteran 5K come up November the 8th. If anyone is interested, it's just to help our veterans programs. We have about 6 at St. Patrick Center. So.
Okay, that's great. That's November the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you guys have a lot of programs, Terri.
Yeah. About 30.
About 30.
Yeah.
How you keep up with all
about 30, but our main goal is to help clients to get housing and to maintain it.
Okay.
And and so we have a lot of different voucher programs that we offer through coordinated entry. We serve anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 a year. Most of the clients come in for some type of housing, but we also help with other things as well. Like we have immediate support where people may come in. We have a community pantry that anyone in St. Louis area is welcome to come in, and we're always running out of food for that. We have all kind of other services like that to help clients, when they immediately come in. And we serve about 1,000 a day for meals at St. Patrick Center. We always need all kinds of volunteers because sometimes with our clients, that's the only meal that they may get a day, is that one meal that we provide. And so we've been around for 41 years in the St. Louis metro area. And we have offer different kind of vouchers that clients are eligible for. And that's like permanent supportive housing, shelter plus care, HUD-VASH voucher. These are kinds of vouchers that are offered through the state and federal government, where they pay 70% of the rent for the client, and then they would pay 30% and one of the utilities, and also provide case management as long as they have those vouchers. And case management is where they go in and check on the client. And so the communication is open between the landlord and the client, and also St. Patrick Center. If something's going on, the case manager can go in and check it out and, see what they can do to, figure out what's going on and to help the client. So I could go on and on and on, but that's just like just like the gist of it. But if anybody has any questions, if anybody has any properties and they'd like to be added, I have probably about 300 doors or 300 different landlords that I've developed in the last, I guess, 2.5 years. And so that's working with our clients to help house clients and to help be part of the solution to end homelessness. So I can put my contact information in the chat if anyone wants to. I can set up a Teams call with you and tell you about what we do here, about how the vouchers work and things like that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, and Terri, I know that's great. I just got a couple questions. First of all, what is your contact information, if you don't mind telling us verbally for the replay?
Okay, so it's T Brown at ST Patrick Center, no S on the end, .org. A lot of times people put S on the end and then I never get the emails. And so I don't know why they put S on the end. I don't know. I'm not sure. And it's the number is 314-400-1419. So you can contact me either way. That cell phone number is my work cell. So you can call me anytime. You can email me anytime with any questions. If you want to set up a Teams call, usually it's about 30 minutes. So, and I'll put that in there. And then also I'll put the information about the Vet 5K if anyone's interested in either volunteering or if you just want to join to help with the fundraiser. And a lot of people don't run. A lot of people walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is that's for the veterans. That's November 8th. That's a 5K.
Yeah.
What you said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if we would like to get involved with that, or if anybody would they go ahead and get a hold of you at either this cell number or this email, Terri?
Well, I'll put that information in too. We have a volunteer coordinator, so I'll put her name.
Okay.
And the phone, you can just call in the St. Patrick's Center. I'll just put that number in there and then her name, and you can reach out to her if you're interested in volunteering for the Vet 5K.
Okay. And what is that number that we should call?
It's St. Patrick's Center's number is 314-802-0700. And the volunteer coordinator, her name is Alice Kellogg, like the cereal, Kellog. I don't think it's 2 G's. G.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. I know you guys do a tremendous job here in our area. And I mean, you do so much good. I couldn't, we could go on and on about that. I didn't realize you had 30 programs, so that's just.
Yeah. And
just
that's
awesome.
it's just like by trial and error. It's like just over the years, like, depending on the funding and the grants, we may have to like not do a certain program and then we bring another one in because we're always getting different grants. If clients need to get caught up on their rent. I mean, it's all kinds of grants that we get we had tornado, we had a flood of tornado victims that came in. So we were helping those as well. It's a lot.
Yeah, the tornadoes, that was one of the things I was going to ask you here. I know that's really devastated our area and there's still people that have not recovered. And are you still seeing a lot of the effects from that? And just kind of, you have anything you want to?
Well, we have clients that have been affected and we did have some funding for that. That's gone. But the city of St. Louis, the disaster relief, they have a lot of funding for that to be able to help clients. I don't know. I don't know. I was going to be talking on that, but throughout this meeting, I'll try to see if I can find that information for people to reach out to be able to sign up and get some type of rent relief. I think they'll pay rent. I want to say it's up to a year or something like that. So they have a lot of different kind of services. We also had the housing authority. We had 3 fairs that the tornado victims came in. We did intakes. We had a bunch of landlords there and we were able to, hopefully house people on the spot or give them some type of, some type of information. I mean, we had people coming up and saying things like, one lady, she's about 65 years old. And she said, when this happened, she said, I just, there's rubble on top of me and I just got up and just walked out of it. And then there's some people that are still living in their homes with like tarps on the roof. And it's just a lot of different, it affected a lot of people. It was, really devastating just listening to people.
Yeah.
About what they went through.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of the areas will not recover. I mean, they're just so devastated. They'll just end up tearing some of the buildings down and just, it's been really hard I know for our area, for a lot of people, but I didn't realize you guys served 1,000 meals a day. That just.
Yeah, just about or more sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think from the stats yesterday in one of our other meetings, I believe they said it was like 500 people that were in hotels. So different people were sponsoring people, putting people in hotels for periods of time, and then that was up, I guess, I don't know. Some people had to go to relatives, shelters. It was just, you know.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate all you do, Terri. I mean that's a lot, and we appreciate you coming in and sharing that with us. I know there's a lot of good people here that might be able to reach out and just add a little bit of help, because I mean sometimes just a little bit goes a long way. I know that, and I like what you said about the 5K walk too, because that's about what a lot of us end up doing is walking, as opposed to running. The running is always good, because we try to get out there and help, but
I actually had
that's
a quick
a great
question
thing to
about the 5K. Sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt. That was on November 8th, you said?
Yes, and I'm gonna put that information in there for everyone. It has actually I have the gentleman's name here and his direct line and his email, so I'll put all that in here.
Well,
Yeah,
5K sounds really scary. I don't run at all, and I've done a 5K, so I promise you it's not as scary as it sounds.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is getting close to the holidays, so some people might want to take advantage of, just trying to maybe get a little weight off when you start putting it on in November, December.
Great point. Another reason to get out there and run.
But I run for cake, so it really doesn't change.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't change my weight.
I don't have any answer for that because I struggle too.
Now, do you run, Renee, with the cake at the end, or do you run with the cake?
At the end. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
usually all I really want at the end of a run is a cup of coffee and a good steak. Like, to be honest, that's usually what I crave. But I've done a marathon. I am a turtle, but I have done a marathon faster than anybody who's never done one before. So that's the way I look at it. I do it. I actually run because I like it, but I'm not fast. I'm not going to win any races. But I enjoy it. So that's why I do it.
Well, sometimes the competition isn't with others, it's with ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's great. Yeah. And I agree with you on wanting the steak when you're done. It's just amazing how sometimes exercise and things like that make you so hungry at the end. I noticed that even with our grandson playing soccer. When he's done, I mean, he could have ate the biggest lunch, and then after his soccer games, he's ready to eat.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how it works.
Yeah.
So, or are you going to be? I know you're out east, Renee. How and you put in something about your property there. Was that with the tornado we had? Is that where you had some damage?
Yeah. We actually basically a lot of the roof basically, I wouldn't say 100% blew off, but we did have, we did have to have salvage come out and do, we found a good contractor. He worked with us, helped us do the claim, with the insurance company, and helped us go back and forth with the insurance company on what they were going to repair. And of course, when they tear a roof open, he was like, we figure we'll probably find more things that we'll need a supplement to. So that just happened. They just sent something to the insurance company asking for a supplement. So, I mean, but best case scenario, like a lot of the buildings in North City were just completely rubble, were bricks from what I heard. And our building was still standing. And even though it wasn't ideal, our tenants were still able to, go back, like after a couple of days, we're able to go back in and, live there. It's, not under the best, but, like everything was covered. So they didn't, have their roof leaking for the most part. But we're still working on repairs. They've done I've seen the photos. The contractor's done a really good job. They just started working on the inside stuff, the damage from leaks and whatnot. But so it's coming along, but like I heard, a lot of really unfortunate and sad stories about people and their properties. And I figure, I'm like, we got, honestly really lucky that none of our tenants were hurt, not even injured. And, like I said, our property was still standing. So at least we had the opportunity to, go back and forth with insurance and, get it repaired back to, what it should be.
Yeah, that's well, we're really glad to hear that, Renee, because I know a lot of people aren't as fortunate as you. It's still a lot to go through, and the insurance companies have made it. You can't really blame them, but they've made it so difficult now with all the stuff going on with it. I mean, just trying to get your stuff done, and then it's good that you had somebody, kind of like a negotiator, go back in and kind of talk to them because they try to, cut corners on a lot of stuff. I know we've gone through that over the years. It used to not be like that. Back, 20 years ago, you used to just file a claim and they'd go by it. Now, even with the roofs and stuff, they're not just, even if you have replacement value, they're going back to and discounting it for how old it is to begin with. So,
Right, right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, we're still not sure if they're going to pay the quote unquote depreciation. Um, but like one of the things that the contractor didn't like do it himself, and I wouldn't expect that, but he was like, let me look at it before you sign the paper. And uh the first amount they were offering was 10K, and then when I sent them like what the insurance company what the contractor needed, and all the stuff that they had left out of that estimate, it ended up being 40,000.
yeah, wow.
So, and even with that, like the contractor said, what's going to happen? He said they're going to go with the estimate that has everything that they know about in it and nothing hypothetical. He said, when we open up the roof, there is probably going to be, I'm guessing from what I've seen that there will be damage that they don't know about from the original claim. And so they actually sent the insurance company the supplemental info. I didn't have to do anything. I just got an email that, where I was CC'd, and they took care of asking about it. So.
Wow. Well, we do wish you well in that because I don't think I've ever had a roof opened up where they didn't find something else. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
one
Yeah.
time ever. And
Well, honestly, the contractor that we had previously, I think I told, like some of the people who've been on here a while know the story about us getting hosed by some shady folks. And,
mhm.
they did a terrible job to begin with. So, it's like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if if they found, crayons down there or something, you know what I mean? Like, just like, like I have no idea what they didn't do, correctly. So,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So.
Well, maybe you can keep us updated on that because we're all here to learn from each other, and that's something that can definitely, help us. So we just wish you the best on that. I really feel, kind of glad for you too. In the same token, thankful that your tenants didn't have to get relocated or
Yes.
dislocated. You know,
Yes. And that was the first thing that, I said to our property manager was I was like, whoever's paid up on rent, like get them a hotel room because the Red Cross won't be here. It usually takes the Red Cross a couple of days to get there. I'm like, so, if whoever's paid up, just put them up in a hotel and we'll pay for it.
yeah,
Because I mean, that's like technically what landlords are supposed to do, but I've heard, so many horror stories, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I will never be a slumlord.
yeah.
You know, even if it, comes out of my pocket, like if I own it, I'm responsible for it. I can't, you know, so, but yeah, it's been a very expensive lesson, the whole thing, but the insurance now, we got lucky, our insurance company, we switched because the other insurance company wanted us to have $1 million coverage, like a few months before this happened. And I think
Wow.
with our old one, yeah, we were like, the property's worth 300,000. Why would we need $1 million of coverage? That's insane,
Yeah.
and our lender thought our hard money lender thought it was too. So, because I asked them I said, what do you think of this? This is crazy, right? And he said, yes, it is. He said, let me find you a better, so they actually helped us with that. But
Wow.
I think that originally had they had a tornado, clause where it was like tornadoes were not, which like, and I was like, oh God, I hope this new insurance doesn't have that, and I'm looking, and we did so we got lucky, and it's taking, it turns slowly, but they're at least, you know, doing what they're supposed to do. And we haven't had to hire a lawyer to, you know, go to court and sue them. And our tenants haven't had to wait a year to get stuff repaired. So, you know.
Mm. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, the $1 million, they were probably looking at replacement costs because I know we had some issues a few years ago like that. It's like, and actually they couldn't even, we had a claim, which I won't get into too much, but you know, the house you could have sold for 100, maybe 180,000, and the 380 or whatever we got from the insurance wasn't even enough to rebuild it. So it
Right.
might have something to do with that. And then the clause, you know, a lot of them are doing that now where they just exclude stuff. And like, you know, we had the one tree that came down during a storm and they said it was an act of God, so nothing was covered. I said, well, if it was an act of God, God would have rebuilt my fence and put the tree back and fixed all the neighbor stuff too.
Right.
That's what God would have
Right.
done. I mean, it wasn't that ain't no act of God. That seems like more like the opposite, you know? So, I mean, you know, they kind of laughed and said no, but you know, they just still didn't pay for it. So you just gotta, I mean, things are so different than they were a few years ago. Of course, there are a lot of people that do try to scam them and stuff. And, you know, of course, we all know
Oh, yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, they can't be too cautious either, you know? So,
Oh, of course. But I mean, like, you know, if they've come out and taken a look at it, you know, it's like, that's what happened. The adjuster came out, looked at it, went with whatever they went with. And you know, and so, you know, it wasn't really like I'm sure they were, you know, so, you know, like they obviously weren't going to be like, oh, let me look, you know, like, let me open up the roof and see if there's anything else we need to take care. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm sure they just did what they, you know, went by what they saw and, you know, and their knowledge of like what's there, because I don't expect an insurance adjuster to be, I'm sure they know something about roofs, but I don't expect them to be like, know exactly how they're built or, you know.
Well, they're probably independent. That's what, at least my experience with them. And they're probably looking at 50 other properties, you know, around the same area at the same time. They're not going to crawl up there on the roof and get into details. They're going to do a
Right.
preliminary thing, and then you're going to have to deal with it from there, which you're doing. So,
Right, right. And that was the other thing too, was like the company that the contractor came out, you know, he was able to get there within 24 hours to do the damage control, which I was like, I know you must have like at least 60 other houses, like, you know, with after this tornado, you know, everybody's calling people. And same thing with the insurance. He was like, I can squeeze you in at like such and such. And so I called the property manager and I said, can you make that happen? Because there really is no leeway right now. He's probably got, you know, hundreds of houses that he's got to do. So yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people don't realize, that when there's like the tenants are, you know, saying like stuff is slow getting repaired. And I'm like, please let them know that like we're not slacking on this. It's, you know, it just takes time because of, you know.
right. Right. That's the difference in a major storm like this because or a lot of people are affected at the same time. And, you know, there's only so many people to go around. I mean, they even bring people in, I know, from out of town, contractors and things like that. Even the electric crews are coming in from like Iowa and Oklahoma, different places just to try to get things back going again. So, I mean, it's not always easy for people to have patience with that stuff either because a lot of times we only see our immediate need, you know, and I'm sure Terry kind of sees that. I need a meal today. That's the first thing we need is like, you know, we got to eat and be comfortable and have a place to sleep. So you know, I commend you on, you know, with your tenants, getting them a hotel room or whatever you need to, you know, whatever you need to do to let them survive too, because not everybody is willing to do that.
No, and it's not like that's like I feel like that's your obligation, and anybody that doesn't do that is, you know, I mean, it's like I get, you know, it costs money, it's a profit-making business, but like this is, you know, their home. And same thing with like um the um the property manager told me they just did like plastic on the windows on one side and they weren't, you know, that wasn't keeping out the heat or anything else. And I said, what can you do as a quick, you know, thing that won't cost too much? And he said, I can board them up and, you know, that way, you know, they get their AC will work and, you know, their window units in the other windows. I said, you know, like do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm like, I know it's not an ideal fix, but at least, you know, they won't have flies coming in and and their AC will keep up with the heat.
Yeah. Because the heat was a major factor at that same time. I mean, this hit this,
Yes, exactly.
that's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
so,
So that's why I said, like, what can we do as a temporary fix until, you know, until they can do the real repairs that won't cost us $1 million, but will, work, you know,
Right.
so that's what we did.
Well, that's so good for you to share that with us and do that, Renee. We really appreciate that.
Well, that's the thing is like, I feel like that's the bare minimum, but I have dealt with like all my life, I've been a renter and I have dealt with some really, really awful landlords,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
so-
out there, unfortunately, and I think most of us, at least the ones that are here are pretty good about doing stuff, but the ones out there, and that's of course the
Right.
ones you hear about. It's just like the bad tenants. You only hear about
Right,
the % that are bad. It's not the 90% that are great. you know?
right.
So same
And
thing
that's
with
the other
landlords.
thing too, is I'm like, if they're not paid up on their rent, then I told him, I said, if somebody's not, if they're behind, then they're out of luck, they're on
Yeah.
their, and like, whether or not that's legal, I don't know, but
Well, yeah, well, you're kind of going up and beyond what's expected of you if you're, if you're getting
Right.
on there. So I mean, that's there's a lot to be said about that too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, it doesn't matter as a landlord, like my friend's mom, owned a building and, she wasn't fixing stuff because she said she couldn't afford it. And the tenant took her to court and she said, and the judge said, it doesn't matter what you can and can't afford. You own this building, you have a tenant in it, you need to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, the tenant landlord laws are, they're different in different areas, but you do got to know what they are, and they
Right.
don't always seem fair, but that's just the way, that's the way they are. So
Yeah, and there's certain things that like, a person is allowed, should have heat when it's cold.
sure.
And they should, like be able to, you know what I mean? Like they should have electricity, like
Sure, you can't shut that off because they didn't pay.
right.
Things
I mean, like
that.
there's some very basic like things that like it doesn't matter where you are. I totally agree with, like they need to have that. And as a landlord, if you can't provide that, then you need to sell the building.
Yeah, and there's great agencies like Terry was talking about too, that people are willing to help. I mean, you do have to know where they're at, and that's one reason we like sharing all that stuff here, because you can find that stuff out. But
Yes, and that's the thing too, is it benefits both parties if it benefits both the landlord and the tenant, because sometimes it's, just having steady rent coming in, sometimes it's improvements that improve the property. So yeah, no, it's a very good thing, and I'm glad there, Terry, thank you so much for doing what you do. Very much appreciated. All right,
yeah,
so
thank
I'll
you
let
for
it.
sharing that.
I feel like I've been talking for a while, so I'm gonna let somebody else.
That's okay. I think we got a hand raised. Is it Dana? Do you have something you would like to share with us there?
Hello, everyone. This is
Hi, this is Dana and James. I'm sorry.
Okay.
James and Dana Hammonds. This is our first time on.
No, second actually.
Oh, sec, I'm trying to get this camera to come on so you can.
Okay.
We're not as savvy yet.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, but we're here in St. Louis, and so we have been in the real estate business for a while, on and off, and we came across you guys. I guess how did we? Online. Online.
Kathy Davis.
Oh, through Kathy Davis. That's where it was.
Okay, good. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so I'm just here, just listening to the conversation. I want to talk about the tornado a little bit, but also about some things we have going on. Since you got a lot of savvy investors here, you might be able to help us.
Mhm.
As far as that tornado goes, you're exactly right. The damage. I remember going out early the morning after the tornado, because I have a cousin who lives in San Antonio, but she has a 4-unit in the North City, and I got there and I saw that the back of it was gone, and so I guess since I was the only one, I wound up being the one to take care of the property. Now, the property, her mother was living there, but her mother she's about to turn 102, so she couldn't quite stay there, so she had moved her down to Texas for a little while, and she's planning on moving her back to later on. But the tornado came and took the property out. So I was just wondering what kind of insurance that you have, some of y'all have, because her insurance, she found out, had well, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but it had lapsed, and when she tried to reinstate it, they told her that they were no longer insuring in that area. And that was before the tornado. And so she kind of like got discouraged and gave up. So now we had the end result. So she's been coming out of pocket doing repairs on the property to, to protect the other neighbors' properties from damage, and then eventually maybe selling the property. But I was wondering, as far as the insurance goes, anybody had any difficulty getting property insured in the city? Because we know that, let's just face it, there's a long-term plan of revitalizing North St. Louis. And the only way they could do that was over time. But we know that regentrification takes place. And so they had opportunity to raise those property values that they can move people out and revitalize the neighborhoods. Well, now the tornado has accelerated that. So we'll see a lot of people moving out the North City, and different pockets to be redone. I go through the city all the time, and I'm surprised to see places that new houses have already popped up, not since the tornado, but just in the last few years. So we know that's going on. But yeah, my question was, have you come across some insurance companies that were willing to insure in North City? Me personally, we don't have property in North St. Louis now. We had some, but we are North County. But I was just wondering, anybody answer that question?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I know a lot of the insurance companies, they kind of exclude zip codes and things like that. That's how they do it. They say we're no longer insuring in those areas. We've had some particular the same way. Renee, do you have any recommendations? Because I know you have some direct experience in the city there.
Yes, I need to find I'll find you the name. It's we went through when our insurance company wanted us to pay like double what we've been paying a year to get $1 million coverage. We had somebody help us, and then we had a problem with the next, insurance company, because long story, but a friend of mine it's like a real National Realtors Association or something like that. And you send them something and they give you quotes from different insurance companies. And we picked, a specific insurance company. So let me find the name of that association. I just have to look in my email box real quick. And I'll raise my hand when I find it, and also put it in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the tough
you.
things too that you're going to run into. I was in the insurance business for many years. One of the things you're going to run into too is because there's no existing insurance, you're going to have a little tough time. The other thing is condition of the property. If it's not in pretty good shape right now, I mean, it sounds like it might be livable and everything is not that bad, but some of the properties like that are missing some pieces that were damaged, you're going to have a difficult time getting coverage on some of those. And that's just something I know. There are some companies out there that will pay on an indemnity basis that I've run into before, which means you'll pay a certain amount. It's kind of like life insurance. You'll pay a certain amount and then they'll insure it for whatever amount. Like you'll be able to buy 20,000 worth of coverage or by liability only, things like that. There are some companies there, you're going to have to look for those a little bit, but they'll do that. But that's not like traditional insurance, because you're probably, if you're not living there, it's not going to be like regular homeowners insurance. It'll be more like a landlord policy, which there will be some exclusions and on some things, and also some deductibles that'll be different on different types of coverage. So there's so much that goes into some of this stuff these days. And as crazy as it's gotten in the last few years, I mean, it's really, you don't always know what you have too until you go make a claim. And that's really unfortunate. But that's the way a lot of us are, because who takes time to read their insurance policies? Are you going to read all that legal stuff, 39 pages of whatever that none of us, it's made for, this is my opinion, but I think it's made and written so we can't understand it, so they can interpret it when it's time to make the claim. And I hate to say that because that's a little skeptical and a little, but that's what I see. I've seen a lot over the years. So I don't know, Stacy, do you have any experience for any insurance? I know you guys deal with it with a lot of that too, but it's just a tough.
Not me personally. The office has probably been dealing with it more than I have. But I don't have much input, unfortunately.
Okay. Thanks. I know there's just so much going on, and really that's one of these things you got to keep up on all the time because I know I got friends out in California that invest and stuff, and they're out there it's even crazier because they have some of the rent controls and some of the other stuff which they do in other parts of the country, but then the insurance keeps going up. There's not an insurance control, so they can pretty much do what they want. Plus they can exclude you and they can quit. We had one a property that it was with State Farm, but it was out in St. Francis County that they just sent us a thing, said we're done. We're not going to renew it. And that was it. And we never had a claim, and we had the insurance for like 20 years on the property. And they just said they weren't doing it anymore. So I got together with my broker and talked to him. I mean, I can give you Bennett's phone number too if you want to call him. I don't know. He's the one thing I liked about him. We've been with him a long time. Is he's an investor also. So when we first put together our team many years ago, we one of the things I learned is investors think different than other people, and I don't know if that's always good or bad, but they do, and so they just have kind of a different mindset. So I can give you Bennett's phone number, and you could give him a call and just tell him what your. In fact, I got it right here. I got two phone numbers for Bennett. Bennett Webb is his name. He's a broker. His numbers are, the first one is 314-968-0612. And his other phone number is 314-662-4491. And his name's Bennett Webb. You can tell him I said to call. He's just, I don't know if he can help you, but just tell him the situation. One thing I like about Bennett is in fact, we had a claim one time on a property in North St. Louis, and I was out of town for the weekend. Him and his son went down there and boarded up the windows so nobody could get in and no animals could get in and stuff like that. And I've never seen another insurance guy do that for, that kind of personal things. And so, I mean, he's been a really good guy, been around a long time. I don't know if he is even taking on new clients or not, because I think he's 68 or 69 now. And I know he's winding down a little bit, but he's right on top of things. So I do recommend Bennett, and I just give him a call.
What was that last number you said?
His numbers are, the last one was 314-662-4491. And then the other number is 314-968-0612. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat too.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Certainly.
And Renee must have found it. She raised her hand.
Yeah, go ahead. Renee, you don't need to raise your hand too.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
That's fine.
Okay, so it's National Real Estate Insurance Group. N is in Nancy, R is in Robert, E, I, G is in George. And if you go to, it's NREIG.com, it has requests for a proposal. I'm not recommending anything. We had good luck with them for a quote. I can't, your experience may vary, but I know that they have a ton of insurers. So you can get quotes from a lot of different ones and figure out what you need on your policy and what they require from you. I don't know if you saw my chat, but I wanted to mention that I really don't like in our experience, I can't say for 100% certainty. If you have a construction policy or whatever I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's a little different, but like for a regular policy, if your roof is more than 5 years old, you're going to have to redo it. Is probably to get an insurance policy. Like I said, don't quote me. I'm not 100% sure on this, but that has been my experience.
That's a great point, Renee, because they have changed all that so much in the last few years. And that's the first time I've heard 5 years, but it doesn't surprise me because I know somebody that had one that was 12 years old and they would not even insure that unless they fixed it. So, and I know flat roofs make a difference. It just tile roofs. I mean, there's just a lot of different things. And with insurance, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, one size doesn't fit all anymore. And that's why it's good to have a few choices. So hopefully, James and Dana, that'll get you a couple of avenues you can check into and just see how, and maybe you can come back and share with us what you've come up with, because we're always happy to hear that. And in fact, Catherine Davis, the attorney, should be here next week. So if you want to pop in and say hi,
Cool.
It's always good. She comes in the first Friday each month, unless some, depending on what's going on. I mean, a couple times she's been at court or been out of town or out of the country, and so she'll make adjustments. But she's always good. In fact, she helped us set up this Friday call back a few years ago during the pandemic. She was the one that kept us updated on everything when we couldn't go do anything else, and we've just stayed with it. And now she tunes in once a month and keeps us updated. We're really grateful to her because she's such a good person. In fact, that's how we met Terri Brown, I believe, was on a down at the library in St. Louis at an event for it was with landlords and a judge and a few other people, if I remember right.
Yes, that's exactly where it was.
Yeah. So always
Okay.
good, and I'm hoping they have another one this year because that's always good to go and just hear. It's really good because you hear all the sides of everybody because we all have a different perspective too. And then there's always been, in fact, we've gone the last few years. There's always been a judge there too, and the judge has a different perspective from the landlords and from the tenants and from everybody else. So it's just really good to hear all the different perspectives.
Okay, well, thank you very much. If I may, could I ask one more question?
Oh, of course, you can ask me as you want.
The question is, I know on the last call you mentioned about you were doing owner financing and you were talking about doing I guess a mastermind on it,
Master class, that's
a
correct, Jay.
master class. And so, yeah,
Yep.
I was just interested in finding out a lot about that because I
Sure.
mean, we've done different aspects of, we've done some flips and Section 8 and general, just regular rentals and all kind of things. And so it just, it's coming to a point now where maybe thinking about maybe coming on that aspect of it as opposed to getting in there and doing a lot of labor work. So really interested in getting information on that.
Sure, we just haven't nailed down a time yet. Because I mentioned some of the other things that were going on, and we're trying to get it coordinated where it doesn't conflict with something else. And that's been the main thing. And yeah, I definitely will. I'll put down a note to make sure you get it. I'm sure we got your contact information, your email
All right.
somewhere. So
Now, would that be similar to a lease option or is that something totally different?
that's totally different.
Okay.
Lease options, I personally do, and there's nothing wrong with any of the other ways. There's a lot of good strategies people use. I do not do lease options. I know Laura mentioned that a couple of weeks ago that I used to say this for years. There's two things wrong with the lease option. One is a lease, the second one is an option. Okay. That's the problem with that. Another thing is rent to own. It's just a different mindset because as soon as something doesn't go exactly like everybody thinks, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and they do. Then you have all you do because a lease option and a rent to own is really basically just a glorified renter, and I don't, nothing wrong with that, and I don't want to cut down anybody because we all have different roles and everything's good. But I personally have found that's not the best thing for me. Even on the houses, like you say, with damage and things like that, we've financed some that need to be fixed up. I mean, I financed some that people were just amazed at. And the way we do it is a little bit different because we'll typically get about, and sometimes it's way more than that. And that's one of the things I'll teach is I like to sell building and camping lots, and that's a good basic thing to do because I like to buy something for $500 and sell it for about 17,000 at $49-$69 a month or whatever it is, like that. Houses similar. You take $100,000 house and typically we sell that for about $249 at 0% interest and let somebody else fix it up and take over everything. So that's one of the things that I like to do because it's a different mindset than renters. There's nothing wrong with a renter and landlord situation, but it's a different mindset. And I like happy homeowners.
Is it possible we can talk with you a little bit more about that before then? Before the class?
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, this is always a good place to do that. In fact, you got some, let's see, what is it? We're coming up on the hour now. But if you got some general questions, why don't you come back next week after Kathy and we'll talk about some of that kind of stuff. Personal stuff, we do some, some things on the side a little bit. I don't want to take away from what we do here because this is really
Right.
what we're doing here. But yeah, there's a lot of things to it. And that's one reason I've been, asked so many things about it from so many people that we are putting together a master class because it really gets into some deep stuff. And there's, the reason I do it is I've got decades of experience with, some of the things on the other side, and it's not that it's bad or anything wrong with it. It's just, I like to sit out here and I like clean fingernails, and I like to make deals. It doesn't mean everything works 100% because it doesn't, but I've probably taken, I don't know, maybe 80 or 90% of the stress out of some of the ways we used to do stuff.
Gotcha.
Good.
It's all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming back. And even if it's only your second time, I encourage you to come back because there's different people that show up every week and you never know where the conversations are going to go. I do put the replays up on YouTube, and my rule is by midnight tonight because I just make sure I do it before I go to bed. It's usually quicker than that, because one of the things with YouTube, if you don't do it before 3 o'clock, it usually is midnight because it just takes that long because apparently a lot of stuff happens there. But
How can we find it on YouTube?
Let me go find it, the station, and I'll put it in there for you.
Okay, thank you.
Just started that a few years ago, and because I used to actually have a different YouTube station for my personal stuff. And when we got involved with the RIA more, they, let's see here. They wanted all the replays, and I'm just happy to do that because it just does, it does help us out. Some of the stuff too, I'll take out and make little spotlights so you don't have to watch the whole thing because they're usually about an hour. Let's see, and I think that's the link right there.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll be able to just click onto that. But there's a lot of good stuff going over the last few years. We had the main events that we used to do them live that I record and put on there also. So you can go back and even like look up stuff like property inspectors and, with more things about management. I know Stacy and David were there a few years ago too. And there's a lot of really good information if you want to look back through there. I think there's over 500 videos we have on there now.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good. I'm taking.
And one of the nice things about the replays is one of the things I do anyway is you can watch it at 1.5 or the time like 1.5% of regular speed, so you can get through it quicker. So
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. So, all right. Anybody else got anything they'd like to share with us today? Got here. Okay, we got a firefly thing. Okay. A lot of good conversations today. We've seemed to have a lot of good conversations, and we'll look forward to Kathy next week. Let's see. Anybody else have anything? I guess we can call it a day. If not, coming up on the hour. Appreciate everybody tuning in. All the good conversations. One of my favorite parts of the week, coming here with all the other happy people. I consider this still my real estate therapy. So you can have all the other things going on. You come here, you can see you're not alone, and you get a lot of good conversations to see what other people are doing. So it's like I said, one of my favorite times of the week.
Well, thank you, John. This was my first time here. Happy to be here.
Oh, okay, Brian. Well, welcome. We appreciate you coming in. Hopefully you got some value out of it, and invite your friends, and it's always just a good time. We have a lot of people though do just come in for Q&A, questions and answers, or listen and learn. I mean, we just talk about a lot of good things. And Ask the Attorney is next week. So if you have any kind of real estate legal questions and you want to hear the updates, always tune in from Catherine Davis. She's a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of entertainment, I will say. So we appreciate that, Brian.
Will do. Yeah, I'll be here next week.
All right, great. All right, anybody else got anything today before we call it a day? If not, thank you and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. So, all right, bye.